Beginning, the Grand Hall and the Forbidden Whisper. I had never been anywhere like the crystalline throne hall of the Veridani Empire. The ceilings shimmered like liquid starlight, cascading across the polished obsidian floor. Towers of bioluminescent flora spiraled along the walls, giving the impression that the hall itself was alive. I, Lieutenant Kael Mercer, human envoy from the fledgling Terran Alliance, was supposed to be invisible here. Diplomacy demanded that I follow protocol, speak only when spoken to, and never draw attention. But the moment I saw Empress Lysara, all rules evaporated. She hovered above the throne on a subtle levitation field, her flowing robes of silver and violet seeming to merge with the aura of the hall itself. Her eyes, 5 in number, each a different shade of emerald, sapphire, and amethyst, scanned the room with serene authority. Every movement exuded centuries of wisdom and power, yet there was grace in her silence that left the court breathless. We were here to negotiate trade treaties, interstellar resource sharing, and defense pacts, but I couldn't focus on any of it. The words I had rehearsed for weeks faded from memory. Instead, I found myself staring, captivated. I whispered under my breath, almost involuntarily, "She's the most magnificent empress I've ever seen." It wasn't meant for anyone to hear. The human contingent around me was far enough away not to catch it. I thought it would be lost in the hum of the Veridani Council, in the whispers of dignitaries and translators. It was not. The court froze. The hum of conversation seemed to still itself. I felt the weight of countless alien eyes on me, and then, impossibly, Empress Lysara turned her gaze toward me. Not fully, not aggressively. Slowly, deliberately. Every eye in her face fixated on me, and the room seemed to shrink until I was all she could see. Middle, the gaze and the unspoken connection. I swallowed hard, heart racing. My mouth went dry. This was not protocol. This was dangerous. Humans were not allowed to speak in personal admiration to the sovereigns of the Veridani Empire. Even mispronounced pleasantries could trigger diplomatic incidents. Yet here I was, locked in a gaze that seemed to pierce through my very thoughts. She descended from her throne slowly, floating just above the polished floor. The energy fields around her shimmered like ripples on water. I felt warmth, not the oppressive heat of dominance, but a tangible presence, almost like gravity pulling on my chest. One of her aides, a slender Veridani named Thyrell, whispered something to her in a language I could not understand. She tilted her head, and her lips curved in what I thought was the faintest smile. Then she spoke, her voice echoing in my mind more than through the air. "Human. Kael Mercer, do you understand the gravity of your words?" I staggered backward, nearly tripping over the ornate carpeting. The room went utterly silent again. My own translators weren't fast enough to convey anything, but the mental resonance of her voice carried meaning in ways no technology could mimic. I know, Your Majesty, I meant only. I stumbled, struggling for composure. Only that. You are magnificent. She stepped closer. I could feel a subtle vibration in the air, like it carried emotion itself. Her multiple eyes didn't blink in unison. They observed independently, scanning every nuance of my posture, my pulse, my hesitation. "Magnificent," she repeated, as if tasting the word. And yet spoken without flattery, without fear. I realized then that her gaze was not judgmental, not hostile, not even curious. It was probing, the kind of gaze that can read intentions and memories like pages of an open book. Froze. "You are unlike other humans," she said, voice soft now, almost intimate. "Most are cautious, compliant, eager to curry favor. You speak truth. That is rare." My mind reeled. A part of me wanted to bow, retreat, apologize. Another part wanted to speak, to ask her why she lingered on me. I did not intend to break etiquette, Empress, I whispered. You have broken nothing, she said. You have only revealed yourself. And that is what I seek. A chill ran down my spine. Was she interested? Or was this some form of testing? A trial beyond anything I'd anticipated in interstellar diplomacy. Middle, the private audience. Later that evening, after hours of formal negotiation, I was summoned to a private audience. The corridor was lined with luminescent flora, casting long shadows along the walls. My human escort looked anxious, but I barely noticed. My thoughts were still entangled with her gaze, her words, the inexplicable resonance I felt. When I entered the private chamber, the Empress was already there, sitting atop a low dais that glowed faintly beneath her weightless form. Her eyes, 5 in total, met mine immediately. Come closer, human, she said. I did. Every instinct screamed caution, but I obeyed. There was a subtle pull in the air, a magnetic quality that drew me forward. When you spoke, it reached me, she said softly. Few humans can speak without fear of me, and fewer still can speak honestly. Tell me why. I hesitated. I am awed, Empress. By your presence, your wisdom, your authority. I've never seen anyone like you. Her smile widened, subtle but undeniably there. And this is acceptable. Honesty. Yes, I said, my voice steadier. It is all I could manage. She leaned back, her weightless robes flowing like liquid, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Most beings desire to impress me, to gain something. But your words, they cost you nothing and risk everything. That courage is remarkable. I never intended to impress, I said. Only to speak truth. She regarded me silently for several long beats. Then she extended a hand, not commanding, not threatening, simply inviting. Sit, she said, and let us speak as equals for a moment. I am curious about the human who dares speak honestly to an empress. I sat, heart hammering, unsure whether this was a trap, a test, or the beginning of something impossibly extraordinary. Middle. Discovering connection. For hours we spoke. Not of politics, not of treaties, not of war. She asked about Earth, about my life, about humanity's stubbornness and hope. I asked about Veridani philosophy, the secrets of their culture, and the whispers of history only royalty knew. And through it, I realized something profound. The Empress was not just a ruler. She was a being of immense intelligence and intuition, able to read thoughts as effortlessly as we read gestures. But she craved honesty, not obedience, not adulation, but truth. I have ruled for centuries, she said finally. And yet, few can meet me like this. You have done what none before could. I felt warmth in my chest. I had survived political intrigue, alien scrutiny, and my own fear. And here I was being recognized not just as a guest, but as someone remarkable. And what am I to do with such recognition? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady.